The kiss that killed Blake Lively's case against Justin Baldoni? You can't have it both ways, girl. Will her hot lips come back to bite her in the hot mess that leads off hot mics right here and right now?
No, Is
everything okay?
Yeah, you forgot this.
Wait, what? No, babe, this isn't mine.
No, babe. No, babe. That's it. Welcome to Hot Mics, brought to you by LA Golf, and thank you for joining us on TuneIn and YouTube. Wow, the video of Blake Lively on set in a hospital, improvising that kiss with Justin Baldoni in a deleted scene from the movie It Ends With Us, is a huge problem for her. She's kissing him on the same mouth that she said uttered some inappropriate things at her in the earlier months of shooting their film together. Look at that kiss. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're with us on the video, I mean, yeah, she's leaning in, her hand is covering his hand, and that is not a peck. That is a real kiss right there. Now, if that's a guy that you told your husband and the world SH'd you, why would you ever improvise a kiss with him? You'd be too busy deleting all the other ones that were already on film and future ones from the script. Look, alone, it is not enough for Judge Lewis Lyman to throw out her lawsuit against Justin Baldoni. Maybe not. Maybe it's not. But it's far from the lone element. Team Baldoni just gave the world extensive weekend reading material by filing a 70-page motion for summary judgment with the court. It's exactly what it sounds like. Justin's lawyers have summarized the whole case and its most glaringly obvious events and non-events alike in a very concise manner and presented it to the court for judgment now. The discovery period's over. Here are the indisputable facts and arguments as they lay them out. Look, they're saying, Judge Lyman, you have the opportunity at this moment to not waste people's time, save yourself an enormous amount of career humiliation, and make the decision right now, i.e., it can end with you. Team Blake has the rest of the week to file an opposition to this motion, and they're going to need it because it's thorough, and it magnifies the giant holes in her case, which claim SH and a smear campaign against her. No human resources complaints regarding SH were ever filed at Sony or anywhere else. That's a problem. No other women have ever come forward. And as we know, there's always somebody else. She's never provided any evidence of his PR team smearing her. He even told his team not to make her an outcast. No evidence of bots or fake accounts or anything like that. All right. Before we break down the motion for summary judgment by Brian Friedman and his legal team representing Baldoni, let's summarize recent events leading up to this, okay? Back in June, Judge Lewis Lyman, presiding, formally entered a final judgment ending Baldoni's $400 million defamation and extortion countersuit against Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, their publicist, and the New York Times. Some media, like TMZ, reported in a tinged and I'm sorry, irresponsible way that Baldoni missed a court-imposed deadline of October 17th to file an amended complaint, which they cast as a big win for Blake. Well, he didn't miss it. His lawyers blew it off. The whole point when he originally filed the countersuit on January 16th, 2025, was to make a demonstrative point, which was bullshit. You're a liar. Justin was saying, you're trying to ruin me for some entitled reason, I don't know what, but I will respond in an overwhelming manner that speaks to my emphatic innocence. Someone accuses me of something horrible, I am not going to take it lying down. I'm going to respond as bigly as I can. The point is, it's about exonerating his name, not winning a Brinks truck full of money. The motion for summary judgment more than accomplishes that, by the way. Okay, the judge did allow Blake Lively then to continue with a request to recover her attorney's fees, but that won't happen. She's not winning anything. All right, let's get current. On November 13th, which as of this recording just last Thursday before the weekend, 2025, Baldoni's lawyers, the Wayfarer parties, submitted a motion for summary judgment aiming to dismiss Lively's SH and retaliation suit. Summary judgment means they're arguing that based on the evidence so far from discovery, there's no genuine issue of material fact and they should just win this without a trial. End it now. If Lyman grants it, okay, then it's done. Here's what Baldoni's lawyers have presented to Judge Lyman as facts gathered from discovery. Let's establish, they say, that Blake Lively chose to take a lead role in a sexually charged film with adult themes. The filing alleges that Blake Lively knowingly agreed to star in a movie containing explicit sexual content and heavy adult themes. It says she understood the role required emotionally intense and intimate scenes. Okay, we know what it's about. Lively worked as an independent contractor, okay? But no contract was ever formed. The filing alleges that although an offer letter existed, neither side ever signed the full long-form contract. It argues that this left her legally operating as an independent contractor rather than an employee, right? The defense says this distinction affects her ability to bring certain claims. Okay, perfect example. The guys in this control room right here, almost all of them. One guy works with and for me, and that is Steve. So Steve, right there's Steve. I'm waving. Steve, you're an employee of mine. You can come back. The other guys in there are contractors. They're subcontractors. We contract them to put on the show. Okay? So I can do whatever I want to you guys. From the outset, Blake sought increased control over the film. The filing alleges that from the beginning, and you know this, Lively took an active role in shaping the film, providing her own rewrite of the rooftop scene and urging that her version of that scene be used, later admitting that actually Ryan Reynolds wrote it. She shared detailed creative notes and worked, to persuade Justin to accept her most often horrible revisions. She also requested that Wayfarer abandon plans to film in Boston and instead relocate the entire production to New Jersey near her home. Now, that is a massive expense. And she asked that the start date and the schedule be changed to accommodate her other professional and personal commitments, like, the booze brand and the hair care products. Blake raised concerns about her physical appearance. Remember, the filing states that Lively, having, recently given birth, told Justin Baldoni and other people that she was worried about how she would look on camera and voiced, these same concerns to her agent. The filing notes that she openly acknowledged that the film required a certain sexualized imagery and discussed her appearance in frank terms with both Baldoni and her reps. According to the filing, Baldoni responded kindly when she raised these issues. Wayfarer, the It Ends With Us team, Justin Baldoni, all of them took steps to create a safe set. The filing states clearly that Wayfarer had industry standard anti-harassment and anti-discrimination policies, an HR department, mandatory anti-discrimination training led by an outside law firm, along with worker safety hotlines on the call sheets. We've all been through that, right? If you've worked at a large company before, the outside law firm comes in and just, gives you a whole class on what constitutes SH and everything like that. All right, the filing notes that Blake's contract prohibited any nudity or simulated sex without her written consent and a negotiated nudity rider, and that the It Ends With Us team hired an intimacy coordinator months before filming. And according to the filing, Lively declined an early meeting with the coordinator, who nonetheless reviewed the planned intimate content, discussed the boundaries with her later on, and prepared nudity riders for both of the actors. The filing also states that when Lively raised concerns about intimate scenes, Baldoni offered to keep the attention focused on his body. Okay, so if we're together like this, you can film of course, that was a little selfish on his part because the guy's a beautiful body. When in doubt, and you need a cutaway of one of the naked bodies, make it mine. In the first phase of filming, Blake did not film any intimate scenes, but she voiced objections to certain behavior. The filing alleges that during early filming, before any intimate scenes that had occurred, Lively raised, the filing notes that filming ran from The filming ran from May 15th to June 14th, 2023. That's the beginning phase before shutting down for strikes. None of Blake's intimate scenes were rehearsed or filmed during this time. There were none. However, the filing states that all of the conduct that Blake now describes as creating a hostile work environment occurred before or during that early period. It asserts that her complaints largely revolve around incidents the defendants characterize as low-level or innocuous, including her claim that Baldoni described his genitalia during their first meeting, an interaction the filing says that she initiated, did not report at the time, and after which her husband sent Baldoni an effusive message. The filing also addresses her allegation of fat shaming, stating that it stemmed from a single private conversation where Justin Baldoni, concerned about a lift in an upcoming scene where he had to pick her up, discreetly asked a trainer about her weight due to his back issues. He's got a bad back. He said, how much are we talking about here? I want to make sure I can do it. I don't want to stunt double. The trainer later repeated the comment to Blake. The motion further responds to her claim that Baldoni added gratuitous sexual content by saying the scenes were adapted to match the explicit nature of the original book, reviewed with a female intimacy coordinator, of course, and revised or removed every time she objected, even though Blake herself rewrote other scenes to heighten their sexual tone. The filing also discusses her objections to isolated comments such as Baldoni using the word sexy regarding wardrobe, complimenting an outfit that she wore off-set, or referring to his own marital or sexual experiences, and characterizes these as sporadic remarks in the context of a film built around adult intimate themes requiring daily collaboration. Another incident she cited included the CEO of Wayfair, Jamie Heath, allegedly glancing at her upper body after she invited him into her trailer during makeup removal, though she said at the time, I know you weren't trying to cop a look. By the way, if I walk into a trailer where someone who has just finished breastfeeding is sitting in a tank top and my eyes land on that for a second, if I linger and leer, that's a whole different thing. But that your eyes would hit that for a second, that's not an event of SH or anything creepy. The filing also mentions her objection to being shown an image from Jamie's wife's home birth, which she mistook for pornography, even though the content related to a major childbirth scene in the film they'd been discussing, was extremely relevant. Finally, the motion lists other complaints that Blake contracted COVID on the set, that Baldoni told other people she'd never seen pornography. If someone told me at the age of 38 that they'd never seen pornography, I would simply say, wow, you're an amazing person. That Justin shared a personal story about his own consent boundaries, a story he has publicly discussed before. That seems normal to me in a movie about domestic violence. And that she felt there was excessive hugging on set. These what's that religion called that he's in? Balai, Banai, whatever. Too much hugging. The filing, and by the way, when those outside firms come in and give you the SH training sessions, they always say you have to identify a huggy, like there's the hugger, and that guy, well, are you a huggy? And the person says, oh yes, I'm a huggy, you can hug me. Oh my God, they're so stupid, these things. The filing presents these collectively as non-actionable and insufficient to constitute harassment or discrimination. And all these events. This may be the place, by the way, that Judge Lyman lets the thing go forward, but it amounts to nothing. They had this, remember the all-hands meeting? The all-hands meeting held by Ryan Reynolds at his apartment with Blake and everybody on the It Ends With Us team, and never filed any type of actual complaint. They had a meeting, there was no complaint filed, and that is where Ryan did all his flexing. Blake Lively's objections were addressed before and during the filming hiatus. The filing states that although Lively's description of events is disputed, her objections were actually resolved as soon as they were raised, and she chose not to file any complaint after she and her husband chastised Baldoni for asking about her weight. The issue did not recur. When she objected to certain sex scenes, Baldoni revised or eliminated them. And on June 1st, 2023, in the hiatus, in the early part of filming, Lively met with Baldoni and Heath to review matters that she was unhappy about. Both men apologized for her discomfort. The filing says she identified no incident after that meeting that she claims constitutes SH. 5 months after filming stopped because of the strike, Lively's lawyer sent a list of protections for future filming and said a signed agreement would suffice instead of a more formal HR process, while noting that she did reserve all legal rights. So the motion for summary judgment says the requested protections largely replicated measures already in place, and some addressed conduct that Lively herself had engaged in, such as improvising kissing, we saw that, commenting on appearances, and hugging cast members. Now, at a January 4th meeting, this is the aforementioned all-hands meeting, January 4th meeting in her apartment, she read aloud additional grievances, including restrictions on topics Baldoni could mention on set, and a request for, notice of COVID exposures. Hello, Karen. On or about January 19th, 2024, a couple weeks later, the It Ends With Us team signed the protections that she put forward in a forward-looking rider called the CRA, which contains no admission of improper conduct. He said, they would not acknowledge, and everybody moved on. Now, to show you what a pain in the neck Blake is, the day after Blake and control freak Ryan's all-hands meeting on January 4th, in a group chat that included Justin Baldoni, actor Travis Van Winkle, musician Andy Grammer, and Jamie Heath, and who else? Rainn Wilson, claimed that Baldoni was set up. This is a text thread between those guys. Rainn Wilson from The Office. And in the motion for summary judgment, this text thread was included. Here are the texts. We'll read them. Justin Baldoni says, "Hey, sorry for not giving an update. Last night was one of the hardest nights of my life. It is hard to describe what happened exactly. The only way to describe it was an ambush. I had no words. I could not formulate sentences. My brain was trying to defend itself when they were needing me to apologize for all the ways I've effed up and made her feel unsafe. Ryan was talking to me like a 5-year-old and scolding me. They essentially said that Jamie and I are not who we claim to be, and that for us to have a podcast is unsafe because it makes people feel like we're safe. It was all read from a phone, of all things I did, while many of them were based in actual situations. The events were wrong and things were taken completely out of context. The word creepy and abuse were used in reference to me and my behavior. I was then given the words of what to say, a script of what to say, and had to apologize, which I was unable to do because my brain was trying to comprehend what the hell was happening. I was in shock and basically went into feeling like I was a 7-year-old again when I got home last night. I was emotionally paralyzed. It was as bad as it sounds. Jamie did a beautiful job apologizing. I did not have the words. I was embarrassed for myself as it happened in front of the team, but I was embarrassed that I was unable to even formulate the correct words to apologize and honestly just feel like a bad person. It's hard to feel so much of what they believe about me is false because they're so convinced that it's real. Looking for the nuggets of learning, which there are many, and somehow have showed up today, thanks to Jamie and my wife, and we are currently, all shooting. I love you all. Baldoni goes on to say, my brain was struggling because what I wanted to say and do was run and blow this whole movie up because I feel like this was so unjust, and yet the only path forward was to acknowledge her and Ryan's feelings and apologize and take the wrath of an angry husband. Yeah, I couldn't even do that correctly. I prayed and prayed and prayed for the words, and they didn't come. So I felt abandoned by God in that moment, even though I know that's not what happened. We were told this was the worst experience of her life, and others have witnessed this behavior on set, and the behavior on set was creepy. I was emotionally paralyzed, which is something I haven't experienced in years. Baldoni says, and by the way, I'm sorry for my dictation grammar. I'm in between shots. Okay. Now, the next person to respond, it's redacted, but we believe it's Andy Grammer, the musician. Justin, you were ambushed. You reacted the only way you could. Hold on to your beliefs and keep moving forward. God's all glorious and is with you. Our prayers for strength and protection continue. We are with you in spirit and love you with all our hearts. Isn't it Andy Grammer that sings, gotta keep your head up? Oh, yeah. Is that him? Yeah, so I can almost just sing that to him. Anyway, then Rainn Wilson from The Office. We all love Rainn Wilson. He pipes in on the thread and says, oh my God, I can't believe it. You were set up and ambushed and personally attacked. I'm stunned. I completely relate to you being stunned like a deer in the headlights. Probably better that you didn't immediately just start apologizing. So grateful that Jamie is your partner and could step in diplomatically as needed. Onward, brother. Make a great and important and entertaining piece of storytelling. That's all you can do now. So sorry for what you went through. I love you all and will keep praying for you. Congrats on getting them back to the film, even though you feel like you've been through a war. God answers all our prayers, just not in ways that are obvious at the time. You have many friends who love you, and you're connected to your soul. So, receipts. These are receipts. That's raw right there, right? It gives you an unvarnished insight into the angst and the pain this whole thing was causing him. Where are any of her texts from that time with Taylor Swift or Jenny Slate or Isabel Ferrer, the other actresses on the film, or the author of the book, Colleen Hoover? You know, answer with the receipts. Oh my God, he did this, he did that. Let's see him. All right, back to the motion for summary judgment. Filed just this past Thursday, November 13th. Baldoni's lawyers continue to lay out the case for immediate dismissal. When filming resumed in January of 2024 after this meeting and all that, Blake raised no further objections, described the set as professional, and any earlier issues had been fully resolved. In other words, you know, they say, know your audience. They learned their audience of Blake and Ryan, that it was Karen and an angry, jealous husband. Also alleged by Baldoni's legal team that after filming wrapped, Blake leveraged her celebrity connections to gain extensive control over the film's edit and credits while pressuring other people to support her positions. The filing asserts that Blake stirred up negative press about Baldoni, that she and her husband, Ryan, unfollowed him on social media. Remember that, prompting a speculation of a feud. Like, that goes noticed, right? And that the press definitely took notice. She later sought limits on Baldoni's participation in promotional events. Remember that? I mean, it's unbelievable. The director of the film is not involved. Oh, my God. All right, well, here is where, in my opinion, you know, Blake resolved to get litigious in this process, right? Didn't go to human resources, but is going to go and at least threaten legally. In late July 2024, you know, 3 weeks, month before the movie came out, over a year after her on-set concerns had been resolved, and in response to escalating media coverage around the film's premiere, Baldoni looked into hiring a crisis PR team. Smart, right? They all agreed it would be a mistake to fan the flames, but you should be ready for what comes. When you get that icky feeling, like something could happen, you know, so they met with TAG, the public relations firm run by Melissa Nathan, on July 25th to discuss crisis management. That's what Melissa does, while reiterating they did not want to take any offensive steps, right? We're not going on the offense here. And, you know, Melissa's later scenario planning document, which some have seen, was merely a menu of options, not an adopted plan, but let's be ready. After the premiere, numerous outlets ran stories about the feud between them, prompting standard PR efforts to distribute positive information about Justin Baldoni. It's what you hire a publicist for. Jennifer Abel, who was his rep from JonesWorks PR, she was awaited a green light to implement a social media plan for Justin. And on August 9th, Wayfair, knowing that shit was coming down and this was getting weird and wacky fast, hired Jed Wallace and Street Relations to monitor online activity and be ready. The filing states this was done to avoid adverse publicity affecting the film's reception. All right, so Blake Lively's star power and the public focus on the feud created a microscope under which she faced a massive wave of negative sentiment in August 2024, driven in significant part by her own missteps. Press outlets highlighted her cross-promotion of a serious, domestic violence film with her husband's own blockbuster. Why is she doing that? And her own product lines, like here's a DV film and here she is promoting a booze brand and wearing a bunch of florals and selling hair care products. And she also faced renewed criticism for earlier controversies. Remember when she did an interview with the woman, from Kirsty Fla, the Swedish woman who was, or is it Finnish? I can't remember, but, oh, a nice baby bump. And she goes, yeah, like your baby bump too. And like these things resurface and people see them. The filing asserts that she has not identified any instance in which the defendants promoted any false story about her, and that her smear campaign claim largely reflects objections to Baldoni just defending himself. When when Justin and his team did speak to the press, the filing says their comments were truthful references to actual conduct. It also states that contemporaneous documents show no use of bots or fake accounts. According to the filing, Baldoni even expressed he did not want to make Blake an outcast. Don't be mean here to her. We're just defending ourselves against this weird shit that's happening. Now, Blake, on the other hand, set up a sham piece of litigation, an invented lawsuit through a shell company called Van Zandt to obtain private messages from Baldoni's publicist by invoking New York subpoena power. You can put up a fake company in order to get certain things you need, like these texts taken totally out of context that were later used in a December 21st, 2024 New York Times article repeating allegations that Justin Baldoni violated boundaries and launched a retaliatory smear campaign. The filing states that in December 2024, long after the onset issues or gripes of Blake's had been fully and successfully resolved, Lively initiated this dispute through an administrative complaint accompanied by a prominent New York Times headline. Conduct she once treated as not warranting any formal HR process was now being reframed by her counsel as grave sexual SH, while Baldoni's efforts to manage publicity were recast as retaliation against her. All right, back to the video footage here. Baldoni's team included this video in the summary judgment of Blake Lively, improvising multiple unscripted kisses in a hospital scene from It Ends With Us. It was later cut. Take a look at it again.
June! I promise you, you have absolutely nothing to be scared of, okay? I've done this surgery so many times.
Here he comes down
all you
the
gotta do is
hallway.
close your eyes and you're gonna be great. All right? Bye, Emily. I'll see you later.
Oh?
Hi, I'm so sorry.
Wait, what are you...
No, I just,
Is everything okay?
Yeah, you forgot this.
Wait, what? No, babe, this isn't mine.
I know, I happen to love you too.
Blake thought that would be like a great little ad. Let's improvise this story. Hey, I'm giving you, you forgot the phone. You forgot this. But she's also like, you forgot this. Little kiss on that was not in the script. She added the kiss, even though there was no kiss in the original script, which Baldoni's team thinks, undermines a big part of her SH narrative. Given everything we just talked about, this video is a huge problem for the woman who called an all-hands meeting with her husband to address, most urgently, improvised kissing. Nice, Blake. And by the way, I think it does add to the scene. That might be your one good idea, because he does look a little flustered and confused. So what is this about? How did they get here? Baldoni says Lively's lawsuit is really about reputation, specifically reputational damage, not genuine legal wrongdoing, right? They claim that the handful of on-set comments that Lively complains about don't rise to SH legally. They also defend his hiring of a crisis management firm, saying, I mean, everybody's got a right to protect their reputation. Blake has accused Baldoni's team of leaking her deposition to the media. Baldoni's lawyers deny that, saying there's no evidence tying them to the leak. Now, I mean, these lawyers are tough. Did they want, Brian Friedman's no doubt strong examination of Blake Lively to be leaked out? I mean, yeah, well, who knows? No evidence of that, though. Blake Lively is asking for more footage from Jamie Heath's wife. She didn't like it the first time, but now she wants more of Jamie Heath's wife's home birth. She claims there was footage shown to her on the set that went beyond what Heath has turned over. She characterizes the footage that she saw as pornography because there was nudity. Most people are nude when they're delivering. They have a gown on, but, Heath strongly disputes that framing, right? I don't think they were making out, during the delivery or something. In summary, Justin Baldoni's, judgment is saying, look at all this evidence that's been shown. There is no need for a trial at all. The filing says Lively's allegations amount only to minor or context-appropriate conduct on a sexually themed film set. Because the law requires objectively severe or pervasive conduct, the filing argues, her examples fall way short of pervasive conduct. The cited incidents are described as isolated, benign, or, promptly addressed, and therefore not actionable. The filing maintains the conduct was tied to the film's adult themes, not to Lively's gender. Men and women were treated similarly, and discussions of sexuality were not directed at her as a woman. Without gender-based motivation, the filing argues SH claims cannot be sustained. Furthermore, any concerns Blake Lively expressed were quickly addressed by production leadership. The filing notes she raised no further issues after June 1st, 2023, and filming proceeded without incident. Now, Blake cannot prove any actionable retaliation. Blake did not experience any actionable adverse action. Retaliation requires an adverse action. No employment-related change affecting the terms or conditions of work ever occurred. She was never demoted or sidelined. Instead, frankly, her workplace influence and control grew substantially, including the protections that she demanded. No reasonable juror could view this as an adverse employment action. She gained power. Lively reframes all the post-production bad publicity that she got as retaliation, right? It's not people resurfacing their own. The internet is brutal. The sleuths out there are brutal. The receipts are easily findable, and the content creators are there, and nothing gets past them, right? But she decided to reframe that as retaliation. The law permits employers to defend themselves, though. The record shows no false statements, no digital manipulation, no conduct outside, just lawful public relations activity. The motion for summary judgment filing also argues that Lively operated as an independent contractor. We mentioned that at the beginning. She negotiated her own detailed deal terms through her LLC, her limited liability company. She exercised extraordinary control over the production, was not beholden to any employer. She dictated filming parameters, locations, schedules, and creative boundaries, and that, her star power positioned her with superior leverage rather than any kind of workplace vulnerability. Blake controlled every aspect of her work, reserving absolute authority over intimate scenes, even improvising, as we just learned with the video evidence where she saw fit, like that big, beautiful kiss. Costumes she had control over, shooting locations, daily production decisions. She advanced her own list of protections, which the defendants accepted. I mean, they bent over backwards for her, man. The judgment reiterates that Blake Lively is an A-list actor with highly specialized skills. She's no vulnerable, weak ingenue. She made the central performance decisions, insisted on relocating production, remember, from Boston to New Jersey based solely on her preferences. That's a lot of dough. She controlled her working hours, negotiated around family commitments, and obtained changes to the schedule as she saw fit. Method of payment? Her LLC was paid minimum guaranteed compensation plus back-end profits, matching an independent contractor model. She hired her own personal team, selected additional assistants than the ones that were provided. She got it all. Defendants were, Justin and his team were in the business of producing films. Blake entered as a separate business entity supplying specialized acting services, not just your run-of-the-mill, off-the-rack acting skills. She received no employee type of benefits. Her LLC received 1099 compensation, not W-2 income. She claims lost profits. Remember that? From all this drama, some lost profits, which indicates independent contractor status. The filing concludes the factors strongly weigh against treating Blake Lively as an employee. Now, Blake cannot prove a failure to investigate claim. Justin and his team, the defendants, had policies and training and human resources channels and complaint procedures in place, and then they adopted the specific protections that Blake requested instead of a formal investigation. Blake cannot prove aiding and abetting claims. Okay? No actionable harassment or retaliation occurred against her. It notes that the alleged conduct occurred in mid-2023, while Baldoni's PR person, Melissa Nathan, wasn't even retained until August of 2024, so she couldn't have done anything then. According to the filing, there is no evidence that Melissa or Jen Abel, his personal publicist, substantially assisted or encouraged any, harassment of any kind, making the claim unsustainable. The conclusion here, the filing asks at the end, for all these reasons laid out and those in the earlier motion, that the defendants are asking the judge to end the case right now by ruling in their favor without a trial. I got to say, they laid out a pretty darn good case. Coming up, our friend, and let's call him a Blakeologist, Zack Peter, with No Filter with Zack Peter, his podcast and social platform, joins us with his thoughts. But first, a word from Venbrook Insurance. The biggest risk in commercial real estate is not just the property itself. It's the income that you lose because of a claim. That's what Greg Econ says. Greg is the head of the real estate insurance team at Venbrook Insurance. You could own a retail space, commercial complex, or even a high-rise and keep them meticulously maintained. But something unexpected happens, like a fire, a flood, or a legal claim, and suddenly that solid investment is at risk. Venbrook understands it's more than just insuring the building. It's about mitigating risks of ownership. Get a free consultation with their real estate risk strategist today. Venbrook helps real estate investors and operators make bold, informed decisions. That's why Venbrook's tagline is boldly go forward. You can book a free consultation at venbrook.com/hotmics and tell them Billy sent you. Also, I want to thank our other sponsor, PrizePicks. I go to PrizePicks to try and win money. I kind of suck. I mean, it's easy, but I kind of suck. Here's tonight's Monday Night Football. The app is easy to use. You just got to make the right choices. To create a lineup, all you have to do is pick more or less on a few player statistics. So here's what I did for tonight's Monday Night Football. Cowboys versus Raiders. Dak Prescott. Let's see. 256.5 passing yards. I'm going to say it's going to be a big night for Dallas because Las Vegas is especially bad. He's going to have more. George Pickens having a great year receiving. I think he'll have more than 65.5 receiving yards because Dak's going to have a big night. So is he. Geno Smith, quarterback for Las Vegas. I think they're going down in flames, even though they're at home. 231.5 passing yards. I'm going less. Here's your deal. PrizePicks will give you $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. So win or lose, you're getting $50 in lineups. Use the promo code HOTMICS when you sign up today. It's really fun. I'd like to win more. Hot Mics with Billy Bush rolls on here, brought to you by LA Golf. Time for fresh takes. No filter needed. Zack Peter, just plain Zack, joins us right now. Hey, buddy.
Hey, Billy. How are you?
I need to take a sip of water, man. I feel like I've been talking.
You've been serving that Blake tea.
Oh, man. I'm just laying it out there. Judge Lyman. I'm interested in this guy. Like, is he embarrassing himself? Will he continue to embarrass himself by allowing this to go on? That's a pretty good case that Team Baldoni laid out.
I want to know how long he's going to go with it, right? Because like at the beginning, I understand there was like some criticism of, people that have been following the case from the beginning that he was kind of leaning more in favor of Blake. And to be honest, I had some points where I even was kind of like, well, but like imagine if this were a case where we were in Blake Lively's position and we were making claims of SH and, we were trying to make a case, you would want the judge to really kind of lean in favor of the victim in this case, the perceived victim, because that's what Blake Lively is proclaiming. She was hired as an actress on this set, and then this director was predatory, and he was, lurking and calling her sexy and saying that her spray tan smells yummy and whatnot. And so, you would think that you would want to be a little more favorable to the woman. Obviously fair, but in this case, the victim. But I don't know. The more we see Lyman go on, I mean, I don't know if he's just so over the media circus of this case, or he really, for some reason, has some sort of soft spot for Blake Lively. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see if and when we get to trial, what the jury will ultimately decide and how Lyman kind of takes that on the chest.
What am I missing here? I'm trying to think, like, what's the strongest argument in Blake's favor right now? I'm trying to find, like, what has she put out there that's like, ooh, okay, if that went further, if that was expanded upon, that could be good.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the smoking gun. Like, I'm waiting for the day, and I've said this from the beginning, because, like, people will ask me, oh, well, obviously you're Team Baldoni, right? And I'm like, no, I'm the Team The Truth. And wherever the truth takes us, I'm willing to be wrong at the end of the day, as long as Blake has something to provide. But a lot of what she's giving us, we get these little slivers that lack context or lack additional details. And it's like, well, if you squint your eyes and tilt your head, like, maybe you can see it from her perspective. But I'm waiting for that big smoking gun that Blake has, that really shows that Baldoni was this big, creepy predator that she's claiming that he was. But all we find is that she had a ton of power on set. All of these infractions or instances kind of seem to be isolated instances that severely lack context or are completely miscategorized when we actually see the footage. And I mean, now that we're getting more and more text messages and all of this between Baldoni and his team, it's proving that they really weren't orchestrating this smear campaign against her last summer. So I'm waiting to find out where her smoking gun is, if she even has one, because all of, as I call them, the Blake bots online that are defending her, they're really just trying to mince his words or, pick things out and isolate them in ways that are completely, negligent to the reality, the objective reality that we're all seeing as more evidence comes out.
Yeah, I sort of feel like, if she's going to unload a cachet of receipts and evidence that sort of buoy her case, she's going to do it in March 2026. She's got enormous amounts of patience and calm in order to get herself to that place to do it, because she's losing, and she has been losing for the longest time. I mean, TMZ put up this thing. Oh, she won this. They threw out Justin Baldoni's case. What a great win for Blake. I don't know why they did that. It wasn't a great win for Blake. It wasn't a win at all. They blew it off and said, it was never about us going after $400 million. It was about us making a demonstrative point that our client, that Justin, is innocent. So if she's got something great and hasn't shared it until now, I think their operations are terrible. And she's also very patient because she's getting beat up along the way. When it comes and she unloads a cachet, is there any chance that we're all left going, wow, Blake?
At this point, I don't think so, because it's like, I'm trying to think of what she could possibly have, right? She doesn't have any of the footage. Wayfair owns the
Are
footage.
there receipts that we've seen? I mean, like, there's nothing but Baldoni receipts.
No, we have text messages from him, emails from him, basically saying that they felt like they were being extorted. They had to write the PGA letter. They wrote the email to their attorney saying that they wrote the letter basically under duress. We have, all of this footage that continues to come out, that continues to dismantle her claims, that it's not like she has, unless she really does have some hidden audio or footage, which I highly doubt at this point, all she's going to be able to bring to the table are testimonies, maybe from Brandon Sklenar, maybe from Jenny Slate, where they were like, he was a creep. But even so, like, I feel like Baldoni's even been strong enough. We've seen footage of Baldoni and Isabella Ferrer on set, where she clearly seems comfortable around him.
Oh, she wrote an incredible, glowing. She wrote the craziest glowing thank you for the most wonderful, in detail, first filming experience for me. I felt so protected. She even used safe space, in all these terms about how, well she felt taken care of.
Even Brandon Sklenar, Baldoni's team, has said that they have numerous bro text messages between the two of them that I'm sure if those come out, that'll show that Brandon Sklenar didn't seem to have a contentious relationship with Baldoni, nor do we even know if he witnessed anything contentious with him and any of the other women on set. And the only two we can really think of are going to be Jenny Slate and Blake Lively. Because, I mean, Isabella's case essentially has been dismantled. There's nothing that she can really say at this point that can counter any of, I mean, we have the footage of her with Baldoni on set. We have the text that she wrote to him, and we have her EPK excerpts from the interview that she gave while on the set of It Ends With Us, that completely blows any narrative out of the park. That it doesn't look like Blake has a strong case at all, outside of anybody that she can, what is she listed Gigi Hadid, who, and Alexis Bledel and America Ferrera, who can testify that they know that Blake Lively suffered losses within her companies. I don't understand how that's going to be hard-hitting evidence to really make her case in front of a jury.
We just saw, in the motion for summary judgment, Brian Friedman and his team put together, they shared that text thread with Rainn Wilson and Andy Grammer and all these people. Okay, so don't you have a text thread with Alexis Bledel and the other sisters of the Traveling Pants?
You would think. I mean, and even so, even if she says oh, he was a creep today on set, let's say we have those text messages. Yeah. Does that really prove anything? Because you have to then prove that she reported the harassment, and then you have to prove that they didn't do an investigation, or there was some sort of negligence that the company, failed to investigate this or tried to cover it up. Wayfair's been clear that the only formal HR complaint that they ever got was an ageism complaint with, two guys on set that had nothing to do with Blake or Baldoni. I mean, even the ominous Claire, the woman who secretly recorded Steve Sarowitz, even that bombshell audio, nothing that she's been able to provide has really substantiated to anything. Again, unless you squint your eyes and tilt your head and really try to eliminate all of the context, then yeah, him using the word sexy in a scene, sure, that may seem unfounded. But even when she says there was unwanted kissing, or he kissed too long, or he was, improvising more kissing or biting my lip, we have so much footage at this point, whether it was paparazzi footage from the street or footage that Wayfair has now submitted themselves, shows that Blake is the one that has also initiated that same type of behavior. So it's hard to claim that she felt, harassed by him with the same behavior that she herself was exhibiting on set as they're playing two lovers in this movie.
Yeah, the kiss that she planted, the video is damning. I mean, it's and by the way, I think I just said a moment ago that might be, she gets a lot of heat for having terrible ideas. That was cute. That was fun. That keeps it loose on set. I'm going to sneak a little kiss on him. He's not even expecting it while I hand him the phone. And, imagine Baldoni. He's not going to be like, oh, my God, that was not in the script. My wife is going to be so mad. I told there were only 3 kisses today, and now there's 4. And she's going to be so mad.
Because that's how it happens on the set. When you are playing lovers, you don't orchestrate. Everybody that's like, oh, well, he nibbled on her lip or he kissed her neck. It's like when you're orchestrating this type of scene between two people that are playing lovers, you have this understanding. That's why I kind of loved when Gwyneth Paltrow came out a couple months ago and she was just like, what are intimacy? Like, what is this? Like, are we not adults that are grown, that know that we're playing lovers in this scene that are going to be intimate together? Like, it's one thing if it's like, a full-on sex scene versus just an intimate scene. Like, you kind of know the basics of what the scene is going to entail, and in this case they were playing two love interests that, to me, it's just so outlandish that she's just taken aback by the fact that there was we're making out and he slipped his tongue too far down my throat, or like, it's just so crazy how she's really trying to stretch this. But it goes back to my original theory that I don't think she ever thought her case would go this far. I think she thought, I'm going to write the CRD complaint, I'm going to leak it to the New York Times, and that's going to be enough to bury him because he's never going to be able to fight back. And if he does, especially in a post-Me Too world, I don't think men have been able to really fight off the allegations. The public has just overwhelmingly sided with the victims. And in this case, I think that she thought that her CRD complaint and the New York Times publishing it was going to be enough to seal that narrative.
Yeah, and she really picked a lofty target because she picked a guy that's a self-professed feminist. She picked a guy that like does TED Talks, like saying, be better, guys. We can be better men. And he stands, it's like, You're not only going after, the man on the set, but a guy that literally would be the biggest fraud on the planet if he was proven to be, everything that he says he's not, right?
Well, I think because she thought that would be the bigger bombshell, right? Like this fake feminist that's coming out here and then preying on women behind the scenes. But I'm like, great. If that were the story, if that were the headline, we would have a flood of women. Remember when Harvey Weinstein first went down? A flood of women came out. Every time we've had a big polarizing figure in Hollywood that's been called out for some sort of, egregious or inappropriate act, there's a line.
When Arnold Schwarzenegger was running for governor, and, a woman came forward, he was groping me. 14 others came.
Yeah.
I think the big Austrian, bodybuilder was, I think it's safe to assume that he was handsy.
Yeah. And like, we have nothing. The worst that the press was able to find was his, toxic positivity work environment, which was a whole big nothing burger. Like, it's insane to me that they're still trying to run with this narrative that he was clearly, if you had multiple instances, if Jane the Virgin herself came out and was like, he was completely inappropriate, we've had people from those sets that have now spoken out or done their TikTok videos. Nobody has any of these experiences with Justin Baldoni at all.
Yeah, that's right. Steve, you're hopping in. Oh, from the control room. Yeah. Here we go.
So a lot of people, I know we put it back on Judge Lyman, but Nomaze saying, like, at this point, Lyman's putting his reputation on the line. Don't you think that a lot to do with the judge here? What kind of pressure?
Yeah, and wasting taxpayer money. I see a lot of comments about that.
What kind of pressure do you think, the judge is on after this?
Yeah.
I don't know how into the public forum the judge is paying attention to any of this. I don't understand why he's, really leaning in favor. I mean, part of me thinks like maybe Brian Friedman and all of the games that he was playing at the start of all of this, like maybe that just turned Lyman off so much that he doesn't trust Baldoni's camp as much. I don't know. I've been trying to understand where Lyman's head's at because I kept trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. But to your point, he's really ruining his professional reputation because this is one of the most highly publicized cases with, modern day social media and the way people are accessing the docket and releasing all of this info in real time.
I would, except one of the young clerks that works for him should say, you might want to read some of these chat comments here. But, look, it shouldn't, dissuade him from doing what he thinks, is right. I'm just wondering if he's receiving any influence somewhere, because to me it seems pretty, I'm not seeing anything actionable. Here's a comment from High Frequency in the chat there that says, yeah, Ryan Reynolds is starring in Eloise on Netflix. He hasn't been scathed at all. Do you agree with that? Do you think Ryan's been scathed at all? Not massively, for sure. But
The heart, I mean, it'll determine whether or not Marvel decides to stand by Ryan Reynolds. Because here's the thing, his rom-com audience is predominantly women. And I think a lot of that audience is over him, right? When he was doing Just Friends, when he was doing all those romantic comedies back in the day, and he was doing The Proposal with Sandra Bullock, that audience, I think he's absolutely lost, but he's moved into a different tier of his career where he's now doing Marvel films. And I don't think that the Marvel bros really care that much about this Blake Lively drama, right? Maybe it's kind of, penetrated their sphere a little bit. Maybe their wives are following it and keeping their husbands updated. But for the most part, I just don't think that audience cares. But I mean, to that same point, Marvel can very easily replace Deadpool, as we've seen them replace these characters a number of times, and completely forget about Ryan Reynolds. It'll ultimately come down to whether or not Marvel chooses to stand by him moving down the line. But I mean, eventually, all the women that supported him in that rom-com genre, I feel like they're not going to continue to support him and tune into any of his movies. So if he wants to have any sort of career in Hollywood, like, I think this is going to affect him.
I think, yeah, as much as, Hollywood has on many occasions attempted to take a moral stand. Let us be clear. I've been in this town for 21 years. There is not a moral podium upon which to stand. For anyone in this town, it all comes down to money. And if Deadpool is going to make money, and the fanboys that propel it, still think he's the man as Deadpool, and it is a very unique character. I can't see, it's hard to, something like that, to see someone else playing it because it's so built upon his, kitschy, cheeky little humor, right? I mean, he kind of acts like that in public. So really sort of money. But again, you know what always but Zach, what I'm really stuck on is, like, let's say I worked, at an entertainment news program with a woman who was chronically late to set, and it took multiple hours, and we all had to wait, end on for so long for this person to appear. And I'm not saying that's ever happened, but if it happened, there's likely going to be a text somewhere along the line to one of my friends like Zack Peter, and I say, oh, Zack, you're not going to believe this shit that, oh my God, I waited for hours. Some type of backup or documentation. And the fact that, so if this stuff all happened, there's got to be, why isn't she sharing them? And the only reason I give is either they're not there, or the people with whom she shared those texts are like, keep me out of this. I don't care what happens. Those are private texts between us. Our friendship is over. Gigi or whoever else. Because
I don't think
none.
she cares at this point. I think she's ruined her career so much. All she has left is winning this case. And I think she's willing to throw anybody under the bus to help her do that. I mean, I wouldn't even be, well, I don't know. The Taylor Swift stuff is still kind of up in the air. I don't know how I've gone both ways with it. Is Taylor still, trying to preserve a friendship with her long term or not? I'm not really sure. It's kind of obvious that Taylor really wants nothing to do with her. But at the same time, I feel like Blake has to go all in on this case and use every possible, thread of evidence that she can piece together. Otherwise, like, it's really over for her if she loses this trial. And I think she's willing to do whatever it takes to win because that's all she has left at this point. And even then, I don't know if that's enough to save her career.
Well, it's going to be an interesting week. We assume Blake's lawyers are working feverishly on the opposition. They've got the rest of the week to respond to this motion for summary judgment. So I think they have until Sunday, if I'm right. I don't know. I think that's the date.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, listen, if anything, they're the ones that are really profiting off of all this because I'm sure the billable hours that they have working for Blake Lively are lucrative for them. So I wouldn't even be surprised if at this point they're just like, whatever you and Ryan want, just tell us. They're just going along with the plot because I mean, from everything that we've heard about how Blake and Ryan try to control everything when there's a project that they're working on, I would imagine that they're, this case behind the scenes with her legal team is not a fun environment to be working in.
Yeah, I agree. Zach, did you see the Timothy Chalamet thing that he put out there? The funny video, Timothy Chalamet, does this guy suffer greatly from too much sunshine up his ass? It was a video he put out with a marketing team for his movie that comes out on Christmas Day called Marty Supreme. And when we first saw it, we were all like, does anybody speak truth to this boy? Who is this kid? His acting is extraordinary. He's very gifted. He's, not the first actor to mistake his own talent for some kind of limitless blessing, except thank God we found out he's in on the joke. This is a video of Chalamet spewing ideas so stupid and full of narcissistic psychobabble on a Zoom call with the marketing team from A24 Studios for his Christmas film, Marty Supreme. Watch this.
I'm thinking
60-second meditation. Everyone on the
this
Zoom
is real.
No. We thought it was real. And I'm like, oh my God, here is a self-obsessed bullshit artist. This kid is drinking his own Kool-Aid to such a degree. I don't know if those are actors or if that legitimately is the marketing team from A24, but they played along beautifully. And no, he was punking people, but I think he achieved his objective, which was awareness for his film. Like, he wanted it to be great marketing, and then he did that. It was pretty good.
Listen, that is great marketing. I bought it, and their reactions, but I think we buy it because, Billy, I'm sure you've seen it a million times. Like, actors really, they're so into, this is some Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds type shit right here. Those are their meetings with their lawyers right now. This level of delusion, and I'm the smartest person in the room, and I know the exact way to market this film, and they just, and the teams just go along with it, and they just kind of nod their heads and like, yeah, that's, wow.
You know what? If Blake Lively could take a little piece of Timothée Chalamet's ability to self-deprecate, laugh at himself, make fun of that stereotype that exists, she'd be likable. She's doing the opposite.
But she definitely is not likable, and she continues to tank and blow up her career the longer we drag this out.
I know it. Zack Peter, just plain Zack. No filter with Zack. There he is. My friend, I love seeing you up there at BravoCon. Just having the time of your life, right? Was it wild?
It was wild. I'm still recovering from BravoCon. I feel like I caught a cold or something, but I'm chugging through. But my God, those housewives know how to party. I'll tell you that, Billy.
I hope you partied with them all night long. Zack, thank you so much. Appreciate it as always. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy.
Here goes one of the good ones, Barn. All right, Hot Mics with Billy Bush, presented by LA Golf today. Take your swing to the next level with LA Golf's cutting-edge technology. By the way, if you're a golfer, you got to check out the Bel Air 2 putter, LA Golf's newest putter launch, an evolution of LA Golf's most popular blade putter, designed for golfers seeking greater consistency, stability, confidence. All of LA Golf's putters are made of carbon fiber. Carbon is 5 times less dense than steel, which makes for a much larger sweet spot. Okay? You want the sweet spot. Visit LAGolf.com, upgrade your game. You can always listen to us exclusively on TuneIn. Guess what? We're back on Wednesday with an unbelievable guest, and we're going to talk about boys and young men needing to step up when it comes to the ladies. Our guest is Scott Galloway. I just love this guy. What he has to say is riveting. I go toe-to-toe with him on Wednesday on Hot Mics. See you then. Bye-bye. Hot Mics. Great time.